So, Moopy. I'll tell you who Moopy is. So, basically, Moopy. A long time ago, I found Moopy in downtown Kennewick, being a tech psycho and a child trafficker. He was also accessing basically most of the prostitution speakers in Tri-Cities and basically terrorizing those women into suicide. And so one night I was at my ex-friend's house, and that when stupid male little pedophile witches do that here in Tri-Cities, they had a more modern way of doing that, and that my ex-friend's computer would broadcast into Moby's little pedo kid hypnotist system. And then Moby was used to nobody being able to broadcast into the speakers. And so when Moby thought that he was real powerful. And so then I basically just was drunk, talking over him. And then Moby got real psycho-y about that. And then somebody ran in and shoved their dick down his fucking throat. See, that's where Moby basically is like a bastard. It has some relation to the horse track betting owner, who is actually somebody that has been trafficking children in and out of this place since I was a child. I remember his face. He utilizes somewhat of like an old Western Union, like, cable line. It's like a Western Union. And then his satellite dish is also used. And so this is where that person has basically was the one that collected most of the stuff from my trailer park as a child. And see, one of the problems that guy always had is that he has to follow the satanic wizard rules. You see, these scars. See, there's wizards, and then there's people with scars that are also considered in their world a wizard. All the rest of them are considered male pedophile witches. And see, one of the problems that they always suffer from is that they're not allowed to, like, be going after me in any of these hacker ways or to be putting sound in my speaker. They're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to focus on blackmailing me. They're not allowed to attempt to be doing this satanic curse fuck switching shit at me. They're not allowed to focus on my wife and kid. And so basically, a long time ago, Moby, he got a little sad and angry. So, I don't know, you'll see it. I took a picture on my YouTube, and that Moby, like, made some sort of face. It, like, puffed out my face, okay? That is kind of what Moby looks like. And that Moby does that because Moby does, like, child trafficking in the southern way, where those people like to find images of people that look similar or something, and then they like to reach out in a ghost way. So when I was like this or whatever, that is like where he kind of puffed it out a little bit. They did a similar thing with a video that I made on YouTube in 2015, where Moby thought that he was a real smarty smart. And that one of the things that I did with Moby is I basically figured out that horse track betting guy's complete network of child trafficking here in the Northwest all the way down to Las Vegas. And that was Moby's fault. See, what Moby did is Moby got into a profile of mine that then was basically took all metadata from his little child trafficking little profile that has all the logistics information of his little child trafficking route. And you see that in Tri-Cities, moopy essentially has the main access to the extortion pop-up blackmailing system. Also to basically all those people get outfitted with speakers in that blackmailing system. And that then moopy also has access to sound torturing everyone. And then essentially he has worked years and years of essentially figuring out ways to psych out cops into blackmail. And so that's kind of where moopy is sat here as somewhat of like a child trafficking king or something. And this is basically like why nothing happens about this stuff in Tri-Cities. I went down to the south. A similar moopy was sitting down there in Jacksonville, and there was another moopy over there in Savannah, and then there was another moopy in Augusta and Columbia. See, those are like, they used to use Craigslist. See, if you look on the Craigslist data, all the personal ads that have buttholes and dick pics, and the ones that are like reoccurring, that are like no strings attached. Those people are basically slaves to groups, little pedophile hypnotist groups. So one of the things I know about hypnotists is that I have an ex-friend that trains at being a hypnotist and is part of little moopy's little stupid little pedophile club. And then there's people in Kennewick, Amazon that are little hypnotists that are part of moopy's little pedophile club. And that my ex-wife, she also was attempting to do hypnotism and knows exactly who those people are. And so do I. One of the things about being a wizard in this town is that they may not realize I find out every person doing magic in the area. Because if you're not doing the things that the military guys do, or me, then you people are doing Cayman Island pedo bang. That is an axiom. I went down to Vegas. I went and all those stupid ass fucks. I went down to Vegas, and that all of them were doing male pedophile witch also. And so that is basically where the focus of my research is, to figure out with these cities that are locked with this inoculation shit. Alright? So the reality is that moopy is essentially, he essentially runs the child trafficking stuff. And then the bikers, kind of the white supremacy bikers and shit, like the Joker kind of people, they just do like the crank side of that shit. That moopy runs the blackmailing stuff. And that in the end, I know exactly what the drug people do. It's pretty typical methodology. They basically have a drug world, and then they have a sex world, and this is what the dark webs are like. And that they basically let the stupidest fucking pedophile run the sex world and do most of the horribly illegal stuff. See, the bikers, they'll be like, they'll have meth labs or something like that. They'll be selling crank and shit. But that essentially their leader is somebody that they just place up there. Because essentially the sex shit, especially with those biker guys, okay? Their sex world is the child trafficking sick fuck stuff, okay? And so those drug bikers, they know. Yeah, they know that you're like, that's, it's like there's lesser horrible there's lesser horrible like sex worlds, and that theirs is horrible, yeah. Theirs is the pedal banger girl shit. Theirs is the child brothel stuff. Theirs is the satanic ritual stuff. I mean, that's basically where they just stay in their own drug system. And the little moopy and little pedo hypnotist kids and shit that they'll have kids all the way in high school and middle school, and this is like what pedo-y wieners are and shit. They'll be raging psychopaths, you know, the biker guys, they're kind of psychopaths too, but they know not to really do that stuff. They're kind of held in their white supremacy world. At the moment that they start doing that stuff, that would be bad for them in their biker world. See, bikers aren't necessarily allowed to be sick fuck pedophiles. And that's true. So, Moopy, he lives by the fairgrounds in Kennewick. And that my information that I found was basically that it claims that he's like a bastard of the owner of the sports bench, and that he lets his bastards roam free with the black males and shit, and that essentially his horse track betting system is being used to launder all the pedophile money that they collect, and that my information leads that money back to a network that includes Trump International. And that is where the Trump International was laundering money in the 90s for the Russians. And so that's where the information that I was able to pull leads to that is like somewhat of their path for laundering that money. And so one of the things that I like to do is I like to make Moopy feel like his little Mormon Twilight would be like so powerful in the world. But the difference between a club system and a Moopy system is that they do not have a club system. The person that has this scar that they were using, they had a club system. Pedo banged away his club system. See, let me explain real fast. See, if you have that, then the stereotypical slaughter of the innocents, you can't Jew the Satan stuff. And that person who has that scar went to a slaughter of the innocents pedo bang. All right. And that made him lose his club system, and that's what Moopy was using. And so from that, they essentially have a copy, and that the copy is Mormon Twilight. And that one of the things about Mormon Twilight, it has a Mormon bitch move at the end. A club system doesn't. You see the balance. So, one of the things about time is that what I knew is that their little Mormon Twilight system essentially operates as a club system and is very difficult to crack. And I knew that it would that time would have to go by. This is what I knew. This is what I knew. This is why I've been sitting around, basically. And so, I knew that it had 8 years. Been waiting 8 years. The club system has signed 9. With no bitch move butthole in the middle. Let's see. My profile is essentially a club system profile. And that, yeah, I know exactly what to do. Nothing. Everybody else that had those, pretty much most people showed up to some sort of camp. And that one of the things that I know is that most people that have a club system have this. And that most camps are slaughter of the innocents. I mean, this is like where the club, scar club stuff, and made those profiles, and that those were meant to get people to be too doing the satanic ritual based on the scar on their body. See, those people that have those scars have rich and powerful people that went through the process of putting these on their body. And that those profiles were meant to blackmail their victims. See, one of the things that those rich and powerful people didn't remember about me is that I was standing right there in the 1980s at their little gathering in Clearwater Cinema, that they had to include me because I had been fuck clubbed through with all of the scars. And that meant that I had to be at their meeting. And that even though I was a little boy, I still had to be there. And that's where they discussed that they would follow their victims and blackmail them later on in life. And I knew that. See, when you people started doing weird things at my wish, that is where I avoided you people for my whole life until you people came in to my inner circle prayer retreat. That was a mistake. There's rules. You people have to follow those rules. So, let me just remind all of you, sound torture. I was tortured with sound as a child. You people are too Jewish. So, you guys have like a problem with your guys' systems and shit? I mean, technically, all of those people are technically my slaves in their weird little club shit world, okay? What are you not allowed to do? So one of the things about being subversive and making people not remember and shit is that none of them remember me. And that is what I was able to do as a shadow Satan wizard. So, now that it's 2022, now that I'm 40 years old with no blackmails, doing a sleep education project on my own. People are getting in the way of my science. So now, basically, the internal network of their child trafficking shit has been around for so long that it literally, every time a new cop comes into the police force along the whole route, they get targeted with hot-looking high school girls or something like that instantly. And it's something that they like. Basically, they just maintain. They have hacks on everything in the police force. They do on all their police computers and shit. Every time they get a new employee, they have a whole system of targeting for blackmailing and shit. And then they have a whole manipulation system that gets them to get speakers and shit. And then they torture the fuck out of them. And then that is how they're able to maintain. It's essentially what the tech psychos. That's just like a newer version of what this fuck that was doing that stuff in my trailer park. That person essentially was like a blatant pedophile. Was blatantly kind of blackmailing people and was blatantly getting people like. He also had like teams of hypnotists and rapists that would terrorize people and shit. They would just run into their house, and then the cops wouldn't be able to do anything because he would blackmail all of them. He has whole people grooming. He also went around and impregnated women all over Tri-Cities. All of those daughters and shit got groomed into being blackmail girls. And so that is like where he's like an old fuck now, but essentially all of his little bastard boys, they're so twisted that they go and they find their half-sisters. See, in this town, that horse track betting guy, women used to have to go and get impregnated by him because they would be doing satanic S&M here. And he was considered the great KKD. Until I came around. Essentially, more than likely, he has probably scars and is considered a genetic white person, a pure genetic white person. But see, he chose a lesser society to be in, a submissive society. And he can't be the gay KKD. Because a superior society, the Northern Sea royalty people, are your guys' superior society above all of you. This is what my research is, and this is the stuff that I remember from childhood and shit. See, I remember that old fuck literally touched my dick, and a bunch of military guys held him down and raped him in front of his whole little fucking room. They put a fuck switch on. And that's the kind of things that, like, those people, I know that they don't remember. Because the moment that they remember about me, all of a sudden, somebody makes them forget. Why is that? And so this is the kind of sick world that's happened around here for 33 fucking years. 33 fucking years. Well, more than that, but for the last 33 years, this area has silently been a safe haven for satanic, psychotic pedophiles. Because essentially, if you're that, then little mopies and stuff basically bring you into their little inner circle and shit. And then a raging psychopath world, basically. And then they just sit around blackmailing and sound torturing people and shit. And so that's basically their only power. See, no blackmails. No ability to make a loud volume in my speaker. And then Muppy's in little twilights. And they're not allowed to fight, are they? See, in the end, these scars on my body represent an indicator of certain satanic curses that are supposed to make me switch personalities. See, what Moopy doesn't realize, the reason Moopy doesn't have those, is because Moopy switches personalities to those satanic curses. And that you don't get these scars until you stop switching personalities from those triggering words. And you see, I have shit tons on my body. See, some people, you can't really see this fucking shitty ass shit. But basically there's 2 on there. There's other people that I've seen in Tri-Cities that have 1. And I have 2. And that's essentially where there's 2 separate satanic curses. And that shit doesn't make their whole little world is for little Muppy. So, and these bikers will laugh their ass off about this. Because little Muppy knows that I was fuck switched as a child with those curses because of these scars. And that little Muppy likes to go around and find people that have that. And then he likes to say the little satanic curses at their face. And then likes to scare people with his little tricksy little pedophilias. And that stuff. See, a superior human being won't switch personalities. And that's what it takes to get these scars. See, essentially, they fuck switch all of the Satan curses on little boys and little girls. And if they stop switching personalities, then they scar them up. And that is where little Moopy doesn't have those. And then if Moopy went and got those on his body, he didn't get the wizard to review. See, Moopy, I put the scars after I visually see you not fuck switching to Satan curses. And that I don't ever do that. Because none of you have ever come up to me and had some fucking hypnotist be saying that stuff to your guys' faces. That's all it would take. So, the reality is that Moby, basically, one of the things that I was doing is that before they even thought or realized, I went in on their little runaway child trafficking route just to make it to where their little, see, they have like a procedure, a runaway procedure that they follow. It runs them away to like a compound, or it runs them away to some other city, or takes them up to somebody that gives them fake IDs and stuff like that. And that when I went through that stuff, I didn't have the tapes playing. It recorded over their tapes just so I could sit here later on and be smug right at little Moby about how all along the while the Shadow Wizard was molding all around all of the Watchers and fucking up their whole little fucking world just to rub in their stupid little cuck face. Why would I do that, psychos? Why would I do that? When I stood there with my eyes open, what did I see? Did I see a gun? Did I see somebody yelling, being the psycho and shit? I did. And so, when you guys feel like you guys are like able to run away, did you guys get the tapes, huh? The tapes of nothing. So all of you that were like trying to build the tapes and shit, you guys recorded under me. I recorded above all of you. You hear the silence of damnation. Why would I do that? Why? Why would I do that? Why do you guys think I would do that? Just take a wild guess, moopy. Just show the world what you did. And then you'll all see why I would do that. And you see that little psycho, little pedophiles, they go around being psycho and killing people. What does a wizard do? That's right, a wizard figures out ways for all of you not to really have a reason to be living. See, without your guys' little runaway shit, that's where you all know that pretty much that information, those cops hate you fucking people so fucking much in Eastern Kennewick. That's right, Moby. They're probably not getting their blackmails on their screen anymore. They're probably not getting little loud, psycho-y fucking sound tortures and shit. Hey, Moby, what happens in Mormon Bitch Move at the end? Come on, Moby. Just get mad. Don't let your psyche, your tender psyche switch too much from getting too mad. Because you might switch and start typing out a dark web again.